Welcome to the Surrogacy Warrior podcast with your host, Kimberly Surratt. Join us as we dive deep into the heart of surrogacy, offering insights, sharing stories, and providing advice. Our mission is to illuminate every corner of surrogacy, from the emotional roller coasters and legal battles to the triumphant moments of birth and beyond. Surrogacy Warrior is more than just a podcast. It's a community for anyone touched by or interested in the transformative power of surrogacy. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, lawyersforfamilies.com. Now here's the host of Surrogacy Warrior, Kimberly Surratt.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Surrogacy Warrior. This is the podcast where we go through the incredible journey of surrogacy, assisted reproduction. We're taking a good hard look at all of the warriors that we know in this industry. For those of you that are following what's going on with me, I just want to give you a quick update. We did get our bill from California to go after the insurance liens and discrimination against surrogacy by the insurance companies in California. We will be having a press conference in January of 2025. So we're excited. We've got powerful things happening there with an amazing lobbying team that we're so excited about. If you are interested in assisting us or following that journey, you just need to go to IAEalliance.org. That is Insurance Access and Equity Alliance.org, but it's shortened to IAE because, of course, we have to make things complicated. But today I'm meeting with Amani Hanson, who is an incredible, amazing, I'm just going to say it, badass attorney within the surrogacy world, who I just absolutely it's a joy to have her as a colleague with me. Amani, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
We're, as I do this podcast, we really have developed around the warrior part of this. Advocacy is obviously something I'm constantly going after and trying to change everything. But, part of it's looking at the individuals in our industry who are warriors. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your background as a lawyer, and we'll dig into how you got into this area of law.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be a part of this and to work with so many incredible, amazing professionals in our field. So I have been in the industry over 11 years, working specifically. My entire legal career has been built around third-party reproduction. I'm incredibly passionate about it. I love it. I started in California. I'm a California attorney. Do you want me to give you a little bit of background of how I got there? Or?
Yeah, I think you're special because so many of us, like myself, I call myself a recovered divorce attorney, and recovering because it's, the trauma was quite extensive. So you at least didn't have to go through that trauma. But yeah, tell us about it. How did you go straight into this area of law?
Yeah. So my background, actually, my background is actually in sciences. My undergrad is in biochemistry. I thought I wanted to go to medical school. So I had a completely different track from the legal world. And after college, I moved to DC, Washington, DC, and I was doing actually science research, studying fetal alcohol syndrome at National Institutes of Health. And while I was there, I realized kind of quickly, I don't know if medical school is the thing for me. Doing, science research forever kind of didn't seem that appealing as well. It seemed very theoretical. And so I had very strict parents who had very high expectations academically. So I knew I had to do some type of professional degree. So I was like, I guess I'll go to law school. Maybe I'll be a patent lawyer. I wasn't sure at the time. So I ended up going to law school on the East Coast at Rutgers, Camden, and also got my MBA at the time because I was still trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll be a patent lawyer. I was thinking with my science, maybe I'll do patent law. And at that time, I actually reconnected with my ex-college boyfriend, and we reconnected at that time in the Philadelphia area. And so he was originally from California, and that's what took me there. So after graduation, I went to California to take the California bar, and I took the California bar, and I was waiting for my results, and I was working out at the gym, and I met one of the partners of my firm now, Dean Masserman's wife, at the gym, and we were just chatting, and I told her, like, I just, waiting for my bar score, or I was waiting to be sworn in, one of those things, and she told me about her husband's practice and what they do, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. It kind of touches on my background, fetal alcohol syndrome, I know all those things. So I just said, hey, can I meet him? And so she said, sure. So she connected me with him. I went to his office and I said, hey, can I just work here? You don't have to pay me. I just want to get legal experience. I didn't have tons at the time. And he was like, great, sure. So I started working there. Meantime, I found out I passed and got sworn in and everything. And so 8 months later, I was officially hired full time. And I stayed at the same, so I started my career there, and that's how I basically walked right into the third party field, and actually a little bit into the insurance side of it as well.
I wonder, they should do a research project probably of how many lawyers started with going to undergrad and saying they were going to be doctors. I did the same thing. It was just like, well, I have great grades. I think I'll be a doctor. And I got introduced immediately to psychology and sociology, and I went, oh no, this is my area. I like people. This is way far more interesting than the actual science. I mean, just because I could do the science didn't mean much at the end of the day.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, how serendipitous. I mean, honestly, Masserman's a big figure within the surrogacy industry, and for you to just fall into it that way is wonderful. But you're right. I mean, fetal alcohol syndrome, I mean, this is part of dealing with what our surrogates do during the pregnancy and their behaviors. I mean, there must be some fascinating insight there with your research with fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just cool that it was like dealing with fetuses, like right? Like impacts during a pregnancy as it relates to alcohol. It was on a like molecular level, but still, it was kind of like this dots that were being connected, and then it just happened, and I kind of got a taste like, wow, this is incredible, and I quickly learned that this is such a rewarding field, and I just fell in love with it completely.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, I mean, throughout your experience as a surrogacy attorney, this is always a hard thing to touch on with people because it's like, okay, out of all of the cases you've had, what are some of the hardest ones you've had? What are some of those barriers that I want this podcast to be something people learn from and go, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake, right? Do you have anything that stands out in your mind from your cases?
I think so I've done thousands of cases, and I've gone through a broad spectrum of the most straightforward, simple to incredibly complex cases. And for various reasons, they were complex, not just because something necessarily went wrong, but for different variables or reasons. But I think if someone was honestly wanting to learn from this process, or learning from what we as professionals could educate an individual, woman or male, anyone interested in going through third party, is get the right professionals that you are comfortable working with. Create a team that you are comfortable dealing with for a year and a half, 2 years. Create a team for yourself of experienced professionals that you can work with collectively. And be very honest about what you want or don't want. Set those expectations. Be very clear. And I think making sure everyone's on the same page about expectations is the number one way to really make the process go as smoothly as we can make it.
Yeah, teams are critical. It really is. I mean, we can't. People would like to take shortcuts. They'd like to leave out certain team members at all times, but there's a reason we've developed a system. There's a reason we have all these professionals involved in the process. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you. I mean, you started your career the right way, because I think there's a lot of, like I said, miserable family law attorneys or people coming right out of law school who think they can just do reproductive law. But I mean, you started with, it's brilliant. I mean, you go straight to one of the best reproductive lawyers in the industry and say, I'll work for free. That's probably the number one.
It worked out great.
It worked out great. It's brilliant. But for those that don't have that, who think they can just jump right into this, what's your warnings on that? I know what my warnings are on it, but what are your warnings on that?
You have to work with a more experienced attorney or firm. It is not a field of law where you can pick up a book or read a statute and think you know how to practice in this field. It is, every case can vary so significantly, and the only way you can truly learn how to practice in this field is via experience. And you can't do it on your own if you don't have, haven't really gotten any experience of it, or just gone based on your own personal journey. Maybe there's a personal journey involved, and think that moving forward, I can handle these cases. I think it's really important to work with attorneys who are experienced in this field, get a foundation, learn. I think you kind of should start with another firm or attorney, at least, who has significant experience in this field, because you're really navigating the legal aspects, dealing with humans and people, and the person part of it, and the psychological part of it, also the ethical side, and understanding, balancing all of those things. It takes a little bit of finesse, and you can't really learn that.
A lot of finesse, in my opinion, and those who don't have the finesse aren't doing it well. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the most important thing you said was you can't pick up a statute, read the statute, know how to practice that area of law. It's just different. A personal injury case, you can read thousands of cases around the United States, not only your own state, but every single state has had a similar slip and fall case, right?
Yeah.
Or a car accident that was similar, or maybe not, but it's just one little nuance. That's not the case here. We don't have contested cases that have gone to court. And
you have some places where they don't even have statutes or that you can just pick up and learn about anyway, to begin with. So
yeah, it's important. I think there's a lot of people that are really grasping for information. I know they're listening to this podcast, and I'm a huge advocate of bringing new people into our industry, but bringing them in the right way, and training them the right way. I just really,
it's important, like some type of mentorship.
Yeah. Mentorship's huge. I mean, you can get it through the academy, you can get it through the American Bar Association. But to take on the case and take the risk with people's lives. I mean, these are people that have gone through a lot to get even to where they are, where they have a match, they have a potential surrogate, they're ready to do a contract, and for you to take risks with their continued journey is it's it's gross. Don't do it. That's, I guess, the bigger picture.
I think it's slightly unethical too if you don't really experience or know. It's not. I mean, this is this is a child. At the end of the day, we're all working. It's not adversarial. We're all here for one goal, right? In a surrogacy case, for example, and we need to make sure everything is done as properly and ethically as possible.
So in the advocacy world, things you want to see change, what is your number one dream thing that should change? Goal here is Surrogacy Warrior. We keep going after making this a better industry.
Number one, are you talking on a professional basis or more?
All of it, just everything you're seeing and experiencing, even as a professional, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one biggest thing I would love to see is more access to care and the ability to go through this process, educating the world really on the options and the possibility and the fact that someone can grow their family via third party, and it's a real tangible option. There is it's expensive, right? And it's not financially reachable for everyone. And that's something that I'm hoping we can work and advocate for toward access to, whether it's medical care or treatment and just IVF field or third party and going through surrogacy and the whole entire process. So I think access to care or access to, growing families versus third party, I think is really important to me.
God, it's critical. And, here's something that was very interesting that was brought up in California with everything we've got going on with insurance advocacy right now. They just passed their IVF coverage bill in California in the fall. And I was looking at the commentary, which probably is a death sentence to do when you look at political commentary at people when the governor gave his press release on it, right? Don't do it. I don't recommend it. It'll make you really sad and depressed about the world. But, one of the comments was, it was directed at the governor. So, they were attacking the California governor, which, again, politics, but it was, when are you going to start passing bills for the average person? This only helps the rich. And I thought, well, that's the point. Without IVF coverage for everybody, then it is only the rich. That this is a bill that assists the low income. It is a bill to help everybody, not just the rich. But that is the perspective on what we do, is that it's only for the rich. Well, it's because the advocacy hasn't been there.
Exactly.
And exactly what you're saying, there's not access to care. If they had access, then we could start looking at more cost-effective ways for a third party to assist people. But right now, when you can't even get basic IVF coverage on your insurance, then what happens? You're paying out of pocket in order to get it. Yeah. And I hate the conversation where it's like, okay, I know this isn't accessible for everybody. It's a true statement. It's absolutely, I'm not denigrating what you said, but God, I hate it. I hate it so much because it's just like, okay, yeah, it's not accessible for everybody, but I don't want that to mean it's a closed door. I think all of us in this industry have the ability to find ways to help people.
And we've all done it. I think we all work hard every day kind of trying to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had clients fail on a journey, and the next thing I know, I'm looking for every which way to help them do their contract as cheap as possible the second time. Or the third.
Calling agencies to see who can help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's, so many people say to me, well, I don't lobby, Kim. I don't, advocacy, that's not my thing. Well, the advocacy comes in a lot of different versions. And that is a version. Advocating for your clients to help them keep it cheap and try to find a new way to do it or get it done at all. It's, I don't know how often do you get lots of phone calls too from people really struggling to figure out if they can even afford it, if they can even go down this journey.
Absolutely. And like I've done many phone calls calling agencies to see who can help, who clients will call, potential clients will call with really, stories of, how much they have spent, how much time, effort, and all of that. And they are not able to continue without our help. And we help. Like, I don't even think I've ever turned down a client who said, hey, I can't do this. How can you help me? And I've just been like, sorry, I can't, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's just not what we're here for in this field. I do everything I can to help. If I can, then of course that's a win. And I also think it's about like, it's a big process, and it's about chipping away at the little blocks right along the way. And eventually, hopefully the goal is to eliminate as many of those blocks as possible that basically restrict access, and to try to eventually make it as accessible as we can, considering the circumstances.
Well, that's a good way of putting it, because I think anybody that starts looking at this, it just looks overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
The whole process is overwhelming, and not everybody's going all the way through surrogacy. And we're talking about even just access to care for themselves, to overcome infertility for themselves, because my goodness, if you can overcome your own infertility, you don't need a third party, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
So
or even just fertility preservation.
Good point.
And the costs associated with that, and the average, woman, for whatever circumstance she decides to do fertility preservation, having to come up with $10, $12 or more $1,000, it's tough.
It's tough. And I think the solid comment to make there is there are a few companies starting to pay for this as a benefit for their employees, and we need to see a lot more of it. And for those that aren't sure what we're talking about, when we say fertility preservation, we're talking about cryopreserving your gametes, your eggs, your sperm, in order to use them in the future. And so, a critical part of that is if you're going to do your career today and have a baby in the future, cryopreserving your eggs today is really important. On the sperm end of it, it's cancer treatment and other things that could potentially destroy your sperm count and the quality of your sperm or your ability to produce, both for and with eggs too. I mean, the cancer rates in the United States are just growing astronomically.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more and more companies, at least, people are coming forward and saying that their employer had a benefit program that assisted them. And we need more. We need so many more of these. It's critical. So you're licensed in California. You're not licensed in other states, right?
Not yet. I'm
right?
in works of it, but not yet.
Aren't you brave? I don't have it in me anymore. I'm licensed in California and Nevada, but I did that right after law school.
I know. Yeah.
I feel too old anymore to do any more of it.
I'm definitely not sitting for any more bar exams, that's for sure. So definitely not doing it that way.
Okay.
Definitely agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's, yeah. But, I think this is an interesting point to bring up because I know, you don't reside in California anymore. And I love bringing this up only because this is the modern world. This is advocating for women to have a career and follow their paths and be able to do it remotely. I mean, this is surprisingly, people still ask me sometimes where I live as if it's important to their legal journey in this, but it's not important, right?
It's actually interesting, even pre-COVID, right? COVID was like the big catalyst for all of this in most industries, right? But in our industry, we were doing this before. I would say pre-COVID, I think the numbers have changed now after COVID, but pre-COVID, I would say 60% of my clients were international parents to begin with. So we were on, or didn't even live, or I would say much higher number didn't even live locally, right? So we were on Zooms and Skypes and doing all of that the COVID era. And so it's always been kind of accessible. And in California, the courts were not necessarily appearing in court in person and doing all that. So it just makes it possible.
Yeah.
Which is great as a working mom.
That's the point I want to make. Working mom, you get to be where you need to be, where you want to be, and use your license in California, even though you're not in California. Mm-hmm. And I just, for so many people anymore, I guess this is for the recovering divorce attorneys out there. There is a better way. There is a healthier way to pursue your career. For some people, litigation's it. They love it. They want to be in court. They want to be litigating. I love family building. I mean, at the end of the day, would you switch areas of law?
Never.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, when I first started at Vorzimer Masserman, Dean is a litigator. So there's two founders of the firm. So one, Dean is a litigator. So I got a little bit of a flavor, did some court stuff, some custody stuff, a little bit, but mainly was dealing with the third party. And then within a few months, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing any of that. I'm sticking on the third party side, just again, because it's so rewarding. You have a client who's come in, most of the time, usually third party isn't the first choice, right, of family building. And so they come in one emotional state or place in life. And then you see that in a year and a half or 2 years, they're holding a baby and it's a whole different conversation, and seeing that transpire day in and day out as your career, it's nowhere else. That is just, and to be a tiny piece of that puzzle to make that happen is, it's incredible.
It is incredible. It's the best journey ever.
And I know more than anyone else with your experience and all of that. So
yeah, it's well, I'm 2 decades in now. I just got my first surrogacy baby. I still get yearly Christmas cards. I just received them.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the best?
A sophomore in college, and it's amazing. It's so worth it. But it's also about making the world better. And we've got a long ways to go with this. We have so much more advocating to do and so much more growth to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I super appreciate you. Will you tell everybody how to get a hold of you if they want to use you in their surrogacy journey? Best information for that.
Absolutely. So so law firm is Vorzimer Masserman. I am now a partner there. You can contact me by email at Amani, so just my first name, AMANI, at vmfirm.com. So victormaryfirm.com. And also you can reach me, you can call as well. It's 818-617-9950 is my direct line. So you can actually just call me too. Yes.
Well, and the joy of that is you don't have to learn how to spell Vorzimer Masserman either. So
you don't.
VM firm is brilliant. That's wonderful.
Yes, super easy. And yes, I'm licensed in California, but we have attorneys in our office in different states. So yeah, just reach out to us if you need help or just guidance. The one big thing I was going to mention I didn't, honestly, is I wish more people knew that getting in touch with a lawyer first before, like once you've decided you're going third party, is so important. And I don't think enough, whether it's clinics, agencies, people aren't telling, professionals aren't telling people like, hey, an attorney is the great place to start, because we work with so many other professionals. We have an abundance of resources. We can share that, and a great place to kind of guide our clients through the journey.
An excellent point. And we can steer them away from, there are bad organizations out there, people. I mean, this is a fast growing area. There's very little licensing out there. And really, we can help you avoid some of those big pitfalls. And my goodness, ask us what states to start with, not afterwards, not after you've matched and put a bunch of money into it. Very good point. All right. For those of you listening, Surrogacy Warrior, I'm going to have my next set of boot camp classes starting in January of 2025. That information is coming out soon. So if you are interested, reach out to myself at Kim at Surratt Law, SURRATT law.com, or go to the website and we can get you some additional information on that. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Surrogacy Warrior. I hope you found the discussion enlightening and empowering. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, like us, leave a review, give us some feedback on additional information you want to hear so that we can give you the best possible content at all times. Stay connected with us. Please go to lawyersforfamilies.com for more resources and updates on surrogacy. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we are warriors. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting for your dreams.
You've been tuning into the Surrogacy Warrior podcast with your host, Kimberly Surratt. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, lawyersforfamilies.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.